I got my first haircut ever by my wife, Christine. She's officially like the fourth person in like the last 5 years to cut my hair. It's gonna be a big day. Let's get after it. All right, welcome to Valley of the Sun Sunday Scaries episode. Man, it's crazy to think it's already episode 15. I am flying solo today, if you will. I've had back-to-back guests on the show, which has been awesome. I got something pretty cool lined up the next couple of weeks, and then I'm excited to get back to the guests after that. All right, as the podcast was going on, we had like a crazy windstorm come through, so I kind of lost my train of thought just rushing to get it done because it was absolute chaos there for a couple of seconds. But I wanted to just kind of highlight the fact that I'm always trying to rep something different these days on every single podcast that I do, but I'm repping the A.Ham. It's an Alexander Hamilton reference for those of you that are into Broadway. My wife and I, every year in April, we go to New York for a Broadway trip we do every year. And this year, obviously, everything has been canceled, which is very unfortunate. So I wanted to just to give a special shout out to a yearly tradition, and for all of you Broadway fans and people on Broadway who have these shows canceled because you were out there chasing your dreams. Here you are now too, and you finally got your shot, and it was taken away by something that's completely out of your control. But I wanted to just give a shout out to Alexander Hamilton, A.Ham, and for all you Broadway fans out there. Let's get back to the show. I'm just going to keep focusing on what I'm going to focus on, which is helping you navigate your quarter-life crisis through the research that I do, passing it along to you. And today, we are talking about possibly my favorite topic amongst all of this, which is basically how flawed the current state of business is and how important the three words autonomy, mastery, and purpose truly are. So this all started when I started following a man named Daniel Pink, who's wrote several books. He's wrote To Sell Is Human, Drive, Win. Those are the three off the top of my head, but Daniel Pink is super into the psychology behind why people do what they do. And through his exploration and me finding a TED Talk of his, I found my favorite YouTube video of all time. It's about 19 minutes long, and it's called The Puzzle of Motivation. And the way I kind of took it was more of the puzzle of happiness at work. So before we dig into any of that, let's just talk about where business was and where it is right now. So business as a whole for, let's call it the 20th century, so from 1901 to 2000, was very focused on very, directive tasks, if you will. So like assembly lines, and you go sweep that corner and you go paint that. And it was very if-then. So if you do that, I will reward you or pay you or give you time off or give you some sort of reward. Or on the flip side of that, it's if you don't do this, I'm going to give you a punishment, a talking to, will fire you, whatever it might be. And you might recognize that more as the carrot and the stick when it comes to leadership. So the carrot is, I'm going to give you something nice for you doing what I told you to do. And the stick is, I'm going to motivate you out of fear, or if you do something wrong, I'm going to take this away or do something to you. So that's kind of the state of where business has been for, let's call it, 100 years. The problem is that business has changed a lot between 1901 and currently today. And what's crazy is the concept of management. So the manager, the person that the supervisor, if you will, that concept was created by people in the 1900s, and it made sense because management is all about compliance. I'm here to make sure you do this and you don't slack off and you show up there. Basically, just highly paid babysitters. That's what management was and what it's kind of become. And management was cool when you only needed compliance. So I need to make sure the assembly line works. Technology, you have automation, the problems have changed from the 20th century to the 21st century. And that's what Daniel Pink, his TED Talk, is all about when it comes to the puzzle of motivation. And what's crazy is that there are so many things that don't exist from the 1900s that the fact that management survived, and management as we see it right now is still here is baffling to me. Let's call the carrot and the stick extrinsic motivators. So think of it as like something outside motivating you, essentially. And the main problem with that is that people no longer function or truly work with extrinsic factors anymore. The scope of business has changed. The problems we're solving have changed. It's no longer an assembly line. Through technology automation, we now need creativity and problem solving. And the world of human beings is very complex now. It's no longer as easy as just running somebody down the line. I say all of that because those extrinsic factors, so extrinsic. So those extrinsic factors no longer motivate people, essentially. Now, they might for some people and for some roles, but for the majority of people that I talk to, that I know, life is no longer about money, if you will. There's a lot more that goes into it. So all of that led into Daniel Pink's findings, which is, if you truly want to be happy at work, if you truly want to have fulfillment in your role, you basically need three things, and that is autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And I'm kind of going to explain all three of them in this, and then I'll wrap it all up at the end. So autonomy is you have the ability to do what you want, when you want to do it, and how you want to do it. In the workplace, this might be something as simple as you choose your schedule, you choose your hours, you choose if you want to work in the office or work from home, and you choose what you're going to work on. The company just expects you to get results. So that's kind of what it is. And that's actually birthed a completely different type of industry called a ROW, which is a results-oriented work environment where people literally can work anywhere they want, whenever they want, as long as they get their job done. And that's something I'm a huge proponent of, but that's a whole other thing for a whole other time. But essentially, autonomy is you just have the ability to make your own choices and to do what you want to do. And I'm not saying this means that you're just going to slough off all day and not do anything, right? That's not the point. The point is, when you feel like you have control over your work, you do better work. That's tried and true. Think of your favorite jobs, your favorite projects you ever worked on. Odds are good that you had a ton of say of when you were going to work on them, what you were going to focus on, when you were going to do it. And on the flip side of that, if you think about your worst jobs or your worst projects, it usually involves a shitty boss that you hated and they micromanaged the hell out of you. And it's just because you didn't have autonomy in your own decision making. That's basically it. So having autonomy, that's the first step in just having the power to do what you want to do. Some of our biggest and best companies on the planet, like Google, for instance, gives their employees 20% of their day to focus on whatever they want to focus on. And what's crazy is that out of this has come things like Gmail and Google News, and a lot of things that shape our world today were created during the time that people had to work on what they wanted to work on. Because people are just naturally more passionate about working what they want to work on. It's simple. It makes sense. So autonomy, critical piece in business. Next up, you have mastery. So mastery is important because people need growth. They need to feel personal growth. They need to feel professional growth. I think when we think of mastery, we think too much about the business side. People want to personally get better and grow as human beings as well. But some of the best companies, they offer like workshops for their talent to, focus on leadership or get better at this skill or do this or do that, whatever it might be. If you work for a place that provides you the opportunity to have mastery, to have growth personally and professionally, your odds of staying there are just so much better. All right, and last but not least is purpose. So we are in a very strange world, and it's probably going to get stranger after COVID-19 and all that. But we're in a strange world where people are now choosing their career, not just based on the income. People are choosing their career on doing something worthwhile. They're choosing their career on what value they're bringing to the world. What are they contributing? And this is probably even more so for people who in the beginning choose to work based on the income side. I think a lot of people that choose to work off of who has the best income realizes in 2 or 3 years, your W-2 doesn't determine your happiness. Now, some people, that might be what makes them happy, is making the most money possible. But for most people, they want a job that, 1, has the autonomy, 2, allows them to grow and have the mastery, and 3, they got to feel like they're contributing something bigger than themselves, something worthwhile. That's why I think some of these companies like Google and Apple and Tesla, they get the best talent because they're literally changing the world. And I think that's pretty cool. And I think that's why a lot of the most talented people in the world work for these companies, not because of nap pods or bonuses. It's because their work actually matters. You don't have to go work for Google or go work for Tesla to feel like what you do is worthwhile. I use an example a lot of, if you want to be a landscaper and you see value and you find fulfillment in the fact that the owner of the home that you're doing the landscaping for loves your work and it brings aesthetic appeal to the entire neighborhood. People walk by, they go, wow, that house looks great. And over the years, you build that skill and you get better and better and better at it. And you work your own hours and you work as long as you want, as early as you want, as late as you want. And at the end of the day, you're happy. And you don't have to go work for Tesla and help contribute to automated vehicles to be happy. You just need to find what you feel has the most purpose, gives you the most mastery, and allows you to have that autonomy. I say all of that as kind of like almost like a rant. I kind of feel like I did that start to finish, but I say all of that because I think a major factor in the whole quarter life crisis thing is you wake up one day and you realize, maybe my job doesn't have autonomy. Maybe my job doesn't have mastery. Maybe my job doesn't have purpose. Now, this doesn't specifically lead to where my quarter life crisis came from, but for a lot of people, you wake up and you have that realization. And so I just want to make you aware of it. Like, if we can find roles in our lives that give us the autonomy, give us the mastery, give us the purpose, you find that role right out of college, you might never have a quarter life crisis. And that's kind of the point of all this is I'm trying to help you get through yours, or if you're coming in a little bit younger, trying to keep you from going through a quarter life crisis. So at the end of the day, if you don't have those three things in your work, you're going to keep falling into crisis after crisis. And I want to help you guys prevent that. So again, stay healthy, stay distanced. I appreciate all you do, and welcome to the Valley of the Sun.